Damn, y'all feel that?
Yeah, yeah, uh, yeah. A message to all you pseudo spitters. The sound is cool, but the trend I see is the truth is missing. I feel the flow is stupid. You claim that the music's different. I guess it's all opinion, depending on who was listening.
What's the word, y'all? It's KTR underscore podcast, hashtag KTR. We are KTR. We are back and we are in the building for episode 62. Episode 62 of Another Rose Podcast. I did not check it before we started this episode, but that's what I'm going with. Episode 62, live and direct, No Rose Podcast. Go check it out. Look us up. Hashtag that KTR. We are here. We are back. We took a little break, little hiatus. Let all the brothers in this joint, recuperate, unwind, heal, get things ready. Because it's around the holiday time. It's festive and stuff right now. So that's what we're doing. We gearing up for the holidays. We trying to make some packages and stuff for the upcoming year of 2023. We're getting ready to bring y'all something big, something nice, some more wrestling news and more wrestling content. But before we dive into this episode today, I gotta check in with my brothers, Big Harv and J-Bo himself. How are y'all feeling today?
Doing well, can't complain. Out here in Tampa. You already know about the Buccaneers. I'm out here on business. But so far, for the first week I've been here, the city has a lot of restaurants, clubs, and traffic. But other than that, the weather's nice, so I'm good. What about you, Big R?
Not so sunny St. Louis, man. I'm domestic. I'm where I belong. Right here. Doing all right. What up, Cinko?
What's up? How y'all doing? I'm live and direct on the West Coast. We in 3 different time zones today. It ain't as warm as people think it is. It's in the 50s. So I got a hoodie on, but it's all good though. You know why? Because we live and we ready to this episode. But before we dive into this episode real quick, my people, the rest of the community out there, I can need y'all to do one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms, KTR underscore podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. No Roast Podcast, Facebook, YouTube. No Roast Podcast, all podcast platforms. Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcast, Poppy One, everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR Podcast. Let's get in, let's go, and let's get into the show. We got a lot of things we could talk about. It's been a few weeks since we got together and started talking about wrestling. And a few things did happen over the course of time too. And I want to start with the elite side, the all elite wrestling. We usually tamper in there here and there with it. I don't want to try to be too one side with the WWE work, but we're gonna get some light. We're gonna sound some light on AEW real quick. And with AEW, so much we could talk about. We could talk about, the whole thing with Ring of Honor with Chris Jericho. We could talk about the whole little slight breakup with the baddies and Jay Cargill and the Bow Wow escapade right now. But we're going to hold off on it real quick because we're going to talk about MJF. Because over the course of time, from last episode to this episode, he did become the new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, which I do believe it is deserved for him. It's been a long time coming. I feel like it was needed. It took too long, but it finally happened. Like I said, I give him props for that. So everything from that, win this match, had Will Regal help him win the title, then drop Will Regal at the same time. So it is what it is. But how do y'all feel about the whole MJF winning the AEW World title, and how do you feel about his future reign to come?
Big Harv, you go ahead and start off on this one.
MJF is money. I think everybody know that. We've known that for a while. He gets praise on all platforms from everybody because he knows what he's doing. He's a great heel. That might be the only limitation to him in the future. I don't think he'll ever be an effective baby face. He's too good as a heel. He knows what to do in that position. He's going to be a great champion over there. He's young. He has time to grow still. But it's been a long time off. Like, we feel like he's deserved it for like at least the past year and a half, maybe even 2 years. He's been ready to run with the ball. So it is deserved. I don't like the separation from William Regal after he was integral to him winning the title, but that's outside circumstances. That's other things that we can dive into as well. But all in all, it's going to be good. They did it right. He beat Moxley, who's never a slouch, nobody that you can just sleep on. And it's a good match, good build. everything hit right. They did right.
I agree big time with Big Harv. In my own personal opinion, MJF, as far as AEW World Champions, is the first organically built AEW World Champion that they had. If you look back over their champions, their first one was Chris Jericho. We all know Chris Jericho. We all know that he's won the world titles all over the world. You can look at Dean Ambrose. He was already a two-time WWE champion, main eventer, came over to the company, and he also carried that strap. Kenny Omega, New Japan Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion. He probably had one of the greatest main events in Wrestle Kingdom history, going in the ring with Okada. The only other one that's arguable is Adam Page, but the only reason why he's not as organic as MJF is because Adam Page already has a history with the Young Bucks, who are quite influential, if not extremely influential in their positions in AEW. MJF, every storyline he was given, main event or not, doesn't matter if it was Cody Rhodes, if it was Chris Jericho, if it was the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, if it was CM Punk, it did not matter. He took it and he threw it out of the park. So for him to really build his own character, for him to get to the spot where it's well-deserved as a world heavyweight champion on AEW, it makes perfect sense. I also agree with Big Harv, though. He said, he's a perfect heel. It doesn't make sense for him to be a face. They even try to tease that a little bit, and we already saw some reluctance from the crowd while he was trying to do that. They worked it out perfectly. After he won the belt, he went back to his heelish ways, and honestly, that's what works. That's what's going to work. I don't know how far, his current storyline is going to go, but it doesn't really matter. Right now he's on top. The championship looks great on him. I love what he did with the championship belt. I see nothing but great things going forward.
It's a funny thing that you mentioned storylines, because it looked like he's about to go into a current storyline with Ricky Stark.
Yeah.
And you heard that little fine promo that Ricky Stark's good to cut on him real quick. I'm like, he gonna have a run for his money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Stars can go. Stars can go. I'm not completely sold on him as a world title contender, but he can go. It's a good first test for MJF as far as him being the reigning defending champion. But I don't think Starks is necessarily on that level yet. But he can go. He's very talented, especially over this past year on the mic. He's shown a lot of fire in the ring. We already knew what he was capable of, but I like him. And eventually I feel like he might even be in that spot. But right now, he's just not on the same level, in my opinion.
Since we're talking about Ricky Starks, I'll admit I'm probably one of those fans that have been sleeping on Ricky Stark, to be completely honest with you. Even when he was with Taz, and then when he took over and took the FTW belt, I don't know. For me, I wasn't as interested. Now that he's having more of a, I don't want to say face, but a non-heel, gimmick right now, storyline. I'm starting to be a bit more interested, especially his mic work he did past Wednesday with MJF. It makes me even more interested. So I agree.
Ricky Starks reminds me of my alter ego, so that's why I like him. Well, yeah, I've slowly became a fan of him, especially when I like the scene, like the little growth he can muster up from, especially with separating from Powerhouse Hobbs. And so I want to see how he does on his own with that, and see how it grows like organically, like by himself, with if he can get to that top level as being like a main event contender, or just being on that top level as just the top shelf, just as a main eventer, just see how it rolls with the punches with that. But with that, back to MJF real quick. Since he has the title now, how long do you think this title reign will last?
If they are smart, he needs to hold that belt for a good while. They need another good face, and they do. They're always building people like Darby Allin. They're really starting to focus now on Jungle Boy Jack Perry right now. They got other like positive faces to start working on. I think they should use this time to continue to build newer stars, not the existing ones that's already there, and let MJF thrive. He can be a world champion for a while and not get stale. So let him hold it for a good, 6 months, 8 months. Like, let him hold it.
Minimum, yeah.
Yeah, let him hold it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. How long his title reign will last will be at least 6 months before they try to take it off of him.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I touched on earlier, how young he is and how young really their roster is. They got a lot of people who will benefit from just interacting with him. They don't even have to win the title.
Right.
Just building them up to that spot, like the spot that Ricky Starks has now. It's going to be nothing but good for him. He's already showing the mic work in the ring for the title. He's going to show out. You know what I mean? More eyes are going to be on him. They're going to take him more seriously. So I feel like he should face more up and coming people, and he needs to hold it for 6 to 8 months minimum. I feel like he can run with that easy. It's still going to feel like he had it for a short time.
Right. Like I said, I feel like that's long enough for a short time period, because that's what they usually would do for like world champions, for like those younger wrestlers. It's just get a feel for them, so they had the spotlight and to see how they work with it, because it's real difficult trying to hold a title for 1-2+ years like some athletes do now, and for them to not get stale.
Yeah.
Just saying. Yeah. So like with that, like this 6-month title reign, I feel like that would work well with MJF, and I can see it being a successful title run for him.
Yeah. It was a great title win. And of course, a title win doesn't determine how a title reign will go. But for MJF, I see a whole lot of promise.
Right. And speaking of young champions, we got another young champion we could talk about too, that became a champion. Became a 2-time champion at that. And with that as well, we had little doubts about him, about certain events that happened within his wrestling career so far, of losing the Money in the Bank briefcase, losing the United States title, losing the former chairman of the WWE. But now looks like he is semi back on top again, got a new persona, and he's US champion again. And we are talking about Austin Theory, A-Town down, even though he is not from Atlanta, but we're just gonna go with and say that he is. So I'm tripping. Austin Theory is our new US champion. He beat both Bobby Lashley, the almighty Bobby Lashley, and Seth freaking Rollins in a triple threat match. How do y'all feel about the new and semi-improved Austin Theory? How do you feel about the move that they made with him, with going through all these different events leading up to him being champion again? How y'all feel about this?
Technically speaking, Bobby Lashley beat Seth Rollins. It's just that Austin Theory was in the right place at the right time. I said the last episode that even though I don't agree with how they did the Money in the Bank part, I did say Triple H had a different vision for Austin Theory. Wherever they was going, Triple H had a different vision. And right now, his vision clearly on the heel side, but to make it more realistic, instead of the whole, I'm going to be another sneaky opportunist person, everyone gives me opportunities until I win. Like, no, they try to take him a bit more seriously. Here's my thing. Despite how I feel about it right now, I'm trying to look down the line. I'm just going to call it, I see a major face turn where everyone is going to get behind. I see it. It may take a year. It may take 2. I don't care. I see a major face turn. The crowd is going to love it. It's not going to come out of nowhere. I think we'll see it coming, but that's why I see long-term wise. Long-term wise, he's a heel. He's still going to piss everybody off. He's still going to be annoying. He is going to be taken more seriously in the ring, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a major face turn, and that's what I'm calling for.
I feel that, because I told you, Austin Theory was slowly growing on me over time, and like he really got to me now, and like I'm a fan of him. I can't stunt. I like him. So like I hope for the best for him. I start speaking because I want to say Big Harv for laugh. You can see his face right now if you're watching on YouTube about his reaction. But we're gonna get to it real quick. But Austin Theory, like I feel like he can be like that next guy within the business, and not just in the mid card, but on the main card title scene as well. We just gotta wait a few more years for like some wrestlers, to either retire, go Hollywood, take some time off, release things like that. But he's young right now. He's in his low 20s. He's not in the mid 20 area yet. He's in the low 20s right now. So by the time this man like about 27, 28, yeah, he's gonna be WWE champion.
Oh, that's gonna happen.
That's definitely gonna happen. And we're gonna see it. And we're gonna be fans of it. And we're gonna be cheering and clapping, right? All three of us when we watch a WrestleMania together. Ain't that right, Big Harv? That was your cue to speak.
No, actually, no. I don't get it. I don't get what is his new persona? What is it? What is it?
Is this like a real question or rhetorical?
No, both. But if you have an answer, I'd love to hear it. But I don't believe there's an answer. I don't.
No.
It's the exact same. He's not doing any. He has a serious face. He
That-
frowns. He doesn't take
the-
selfies. That's the difference.
Yeah, drop the phone.
He fell into a title ring. That's not him being more serious. That's not him dominating or putting on a show-stopping performance. He fell into the title. That doesn't get me invested. If you're gonna do him differently, if you're gonna have him lose the briefcase, you're gonna have him assault people with all this vigor and the meme mug, and then for him to really utterly not be anything in that match other than fall into that damn victory. I don't get it. I'm just not understanding it. People, and I see that all over the internet, all over social media. Oh, it's Triple H's theory is this Triple H. It's the exact same thing. He took the briefcase for no reason. For no reason. He could have held. If they wanted to give him the U.S. title, they could have given him the U.S. title while he had the briefcase. Like I don't get. I'm not there. It's not. I'm not seeing the vision. I understand what y'all saying as far as his talent and the fact that he is one day going to be champ. That's going to happen. It is. I'm not going to be a fan, but it is going to happen. I mean, he has the talent, he has the look, he has what they're looking for in a champion. Obviously, otherwise Triple H would have buried him completely. That's not what he did. And I'm not saying there's no benefit and that there's no chance that there won't be a turnaround to where I will become a fan because he has his pluses. You know what I'm saying? But I don't get it right now. I'm not understanding. I don't get theory. Don't get it at all.
So you're saying I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you're fine. Let me ask you a question. So let's take a look at, like you said, Vince McMahon's version and Triple H's version. It's virtually identical. It's the same thing. So let me ask you: could you see Vince McMahon's Austin Theory as somebody that will eventually turn around, people will get behind, and someone that they'll believe? Could you see that before Triple H even got involved? Do you see that happening for Austin Theory?
I saw him going more Miz route, where he'd be so annoying and be that good at being that annoying as a heel that eventually people would respect him and they would get behind him in that degree, and then they figure out a way to turn him face. Yeah.
Good analysis. Good analysis.
Similarities with the Miz in that case. So, and I believe, and of course I don't know these people, but like from the standpoint of Triple H, they or their writers, they saw the same thing. Where yes, obviously Austin Theory could be champion, but yeah, it's going to be sneaky, it's going to be conniving, it's going to come in a way where it's not like it's not going to be taken seriously. Granted, despite how his persona currently is right now, his wrestling his ability right now, the fact is he's being molded into a position where he can, instead of him being a face, he'll actually instead of being a heel, he'll turn face, and it'll make his championship win more believable as a face, rather Vince's route, where it's like, well, he's going to get the belt, he's just going to be some sniving kid, and he'll, like you said, like another Miz route. Like, that's the difference that I see that's going on. But you're right, there's a lot of similarities between the two, which goes back to my original point. Austin Theory did not beat Seth Rollins. Bobby Lashley beat Seth Rollins, and Austin Theory was just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is something I think about, how Triple H is trying to make these wrestlers more serious and trying to get away from like that conniving type deal of wrestling. Because I like before, when Harv said, I never thought about that until now. I'm like, that dude sound like good. I think because the way he was wrestling, that's probably why I wasn't convinced by him at that time. But if it did happen, I probably would have been convinced. And I'm like, yeah, that's how he was looking back then, just like the person that just lost and like got sneaky wins. But how they portray him now is like, okay, he's actually like a wrestler. Like he's like winning these matches over people.
He got a sneaky win
for the belt.
For the belt.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. That happens.
So that's not it, man.
It's not as sneaky as like, like how me is sneaky, but I feel what you're coming from with
that's
that.
That's opportunist though. That's why it made so much sense. Anytime Miz had
like the Edge route thing.
Yes, but when they had those persona changes, that never left.
Yeah.
They were always even his face when he, Miz tried face, it never worked out. But Edge goes face, he's still conniving, he's still an opportunist. That doesn't change. What I'm saying, they made it seem like it was going to be a complete turnaround with dude. Like he out here, he's jumping people, beating the hell out of them. The whole face, the way he gives promos, he don't do the selfie. They changed everything like it was a new persona. And they still trying to push it like it's a new persona. But the way you put the title back on him, he fell into it. He didn't earn that the way that you're trying to build him. So they should have in my opinion, the way he won the title is what's souring it for me. I guess I'll say that. The way he won the title just didn't make sense. Same way when Bobby Lashley, they had him turn face for a night to win the title. Like I had a problem with that. That bothers me. It takes you out of it. You know what I'm saying? To me, it takes me out of it. Like I don't believe the character now.
So would you be behind? And I'm not saying that we had to be behind the character, but would it be more believable for you? Let's say in this next few title defenses, he go in the ring, he wrestles, and he beats him clean. Beats him clean, straightforward, and just continue that.
That would be a start. Yeah, I would have more respect for it. Yeah. Okay. If he went out there and he was as aggressive as they're trying to push him to be, and got a victory off of that, absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that there's no upside to what he's doing now, just like there wasn't when Vince was with him. You know what I'm saying? It's about how you do it. You got to execute, and it's got to be consistent.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
For me, anyway. Y'all know I'm a harsh critic. That's just
that's real.
If it ain't consistent, I can't rock with it.
Yeah.
That's just it.
We got some good segues going to between the tops and tops, because now so we're talking about the development of wrestlers and star power in the whole World Wrestling Entertainment industry. Well, back then it was World Wrestling Federation. We can go about that as well. I'm trying to figure out where I saw this at on the article. It was this. Well, obviously I came with these topics 4 weeks ago, and 4 weeks ago I was kind of obvious. I don't remember where I got it from, but I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10 I got it from Twitter. So we're gonna say Twitter. I don't know who it's from or the user, so I apologize if y'all think I stole your idea or topic, because that's not the case. I just want to discuss this real fast, and we're just gonna get out the way. So whoever you are, user or critic writer or analysts or whatever you are, thank you for this topic. I want to talk about star power within the WWE, past and present. Because with that, I was just thinking about like when I saw whatever I saw back then. I was just thinking about, well, they got a point, because like back then they didn't want me. Okay, back then when they were talking, when the W stars back then, it felt like it was just a lot of star power like all around compared to what it is today. It felt like for instance, like for like title changes, like for like the WWE Undisputed title or the World Heavyweight title back then, it's like you feel like you put that on anybody during that time who was competing for it. It was never like a bad moment or a stale moment. It didn't feel like back then you had to find a part-timer to bring back to help elevate the title. It didn't feel like back then with, you had to keep the title on one person because you didn't have any other options. You can really just go off the rim and just name people back to back about who were just like superstars back in the day and on that main event level. And with that, it feels like currently right now with the star power, it's like it's only a handful. You can probably count maybe 4 or 5 that are on that level. And honestly, I don't know what direction I am going with this on this topic or on this question, but I just want to see like how do we feel about the star power compared to back then to now, and what could you do to improve it? Like let's go with that right now, because that's all I can think of.
Well, if I may, the star power in the WWE, we'll start then. The WWE, it's very different than it was back in the day, but there's layers. There's reasons why, and there's no one particular reason. One of the reasons why the star power is different, in my opinion, is due to the internet, social media. If you think back to like the early 90s or mid 90s or late 90s even, where, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold, you have Undertaker, Kane, you got Triple H, you got all these star people. Like, you didn't know them outside of watching TV. Like, that was the only time you saw them. But now you can scroll past on your phone. You can see them updated news. Everyone is a critic and analyst. Like everyone is always talking about them. So it's like it's never a chance for them to just be special because you're always going to be talking about them. Another thing that's holding them back is the fact that
I never thought about that either.
That's a good point. Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, it's nothing special with them now. Another thing that's hurting pro wrestling is that wrestling is extremely saturated. It's extremely saturated. Like you can go to YouTube, you can go to your phone, you can go to Instagram, Facebook, and you will always find wrestling content. If you're talking back when Star Power was at its peak, it was not that easy to just come up and watch wrestling. Like WWE, WCW, even a little bit in the TNA era. Like that's all you had. Unless you like purposely buy New Japan Pro Wrestling videos or you bought a Ring of Honor video. That's like the only extras that you had. Other than that, you just had what was on TV and that was it. So again, we are oversaturated so much with these wrestlers and we know so much about them, so much about their own personal life and social media. We get so much where it's like, there's not enough energy to put into their star power when they are actually on TV. So yeah, that's I think that's one of the main reasons. And honestly, I don't see that changing or getting any better in the state of wrestling. The fans are just going to. Oh, that's another thing. The fans are so fickle nowadays. Back then, when you have a wrestler that you liked, I mean, you liked them for a while. You don't care what the storyline was. You was invested. Nowadays, you have a wrestler. Oh yeah, I can't wait. They deserve the belt. They need to get the belt. They need the main event scene. They get to the main event scene. They win the belt. Hallelujah. But then, like a month or two later, they don't care anymore. They don't care. On to the next. So again, you don't even get the chance to have that star power. So yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going on a rant. There's layers. That's layers.
What we need. That's what we keep preaching.
Yeah, you going in right now.
Right.
But that's why star power is different. And honestly, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So yeah, what about you, Harv?
I agree with everything you said. You put it in a different perspective. Social media and availability it's killing pretty much all art forms, in my opinion. I speak about that myself a lot. But yeah, when it comes to wrestling, it's way too oversaturated. People feel like they have more control over the characters and their pushes. And I mean, you can look at any aspect of entertainment. People will review bomb stuff just because they don't agree with the decision that was made before they've even seen the content. It does have a lot to do with that. I agree. Another big reason, though, is that they don't know how to build people anymore. You can even say in the early 2000s during the ruthless aggression era that's where they stopped learning how to build people. That's when Cena came up. Right before that is when WWE got the clean sweep and bought WCW and ECW, and they had stars for days because they took all these other stars and, they didn't really have to build for a while. So I agree, there's layers. There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah, the social media is only going to get worse. That's never going to get fixed. That's never going to get better. I do think that they can build other stars better. That comes back to what we were just talking about with Austin Theory. I don't get it, but eventually he's going to be a main eventer, and he's going to be a much needed main eventer because they have so few right now. Even back, we talk about we've had that as a subject a few times, the draft, how they separate and then have two separate champions, two separate tag champs, all that. It made more sense back then because the playing field was so thick. You had so many people that you couldn't have one title. If you had one title, you would not have an undercard. You wouldn't have a tag scene. You wouldn't have nothing because you had so many main eventers going for this one main event title. So it made sense for them to split up. But yeah, it's just crazy. You think about it, there's a lot of different factors that go into it.
Yeah.
But I do think that they could still build people. I don't think it's ever too late to learn how to make a star. Get back to your roots.
So when it comes to like building these superstars, do you think it is with the coaches and trainers, or is it with maybe like the personality of the wrestlers that are already there?
It's a combination of all of them. Like if you look at MJF before AEW, I mean, unless you was a heavy independent fan, you didn't really know who MJF is. And then what? Within a year of him being at AEW, he clearly made himself a star in the main eventer, and he just now got the main title. And he did all of that organically. You know, he did that on his own. So back to Harv's point, yes, it is still possible, but not everyone's going to be an MJF. You don't have to be an MJF, but you know he's one of those, you know, what do you call a diamond a dozen, you know, a needle in a haystack. He's different, and it's rare for you to come across that. And that's just on organic itself. Yes, there can be coaches, there can be trainers, that mentors and all that, and that can help build. Going back again to Hart's point of building a star by going back to your roots, seeing what you did then that you're clearly not doing now. I mean, stuff like that. Yeah, it's possible, but I can't pin. It's not just going to be on the wrestlers. It's not just going to be on the coaches. It's just, dude, I don't know. It's a lot that goes into it.
It is a lot. Definitely a lot. When it comes to building somebody, I feel like there needs to be a balance between how much charisma they have and how much actual in-ring talent they have. And I feel like we get a lot of people who weigh more heavily in one direction than the other. And that's because the people whose job it is to make sure that they can balance that aren't doing that job. Mm-hmm. They need to give them the outlines of the character that they need to portray and then let that person make that character their own. To me, that's the only way for the person to get invested. And then if the person's invested, it's easier for them to get other people invested. You can't believe somebody that don't believe they damn self. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the characters fall flat because they you know, you're a mime. You're just out there speaking whatever they show up on the little flashcards or whatever they say in your ear. You're not being yourself. And that's obvious. But then you can get in the ring and you can wrestle your ass off. Yeah. That doesn't make a superstar. That makes a good wrestler. And then I mean, he can't talk. You don't want to hear him talk. You know what I'm saying? You mid-guard at best. You can't do anything else. It needs to be a balance, and they need to find that balance.
Yeah.
So with that, do you feel like the the wrestling roster currently right now has the potential that star power that it did back in the day?
Absolutely. But it again, that goes back to how are you going to utilize these wrestlers? It goes back to who you got in places to help utilize these wrestlers. What are you going to do differently than what you have been doing for the past 20 years to start making these stars? So once all of those are evaluated, of course, and we already see potentials in up and coming wrestlers right now. I'm not too keen on, you know, a good number of the NXT guys, but I mean, still, you know, regardless, anybody can be a star if the formula is created appropriately.
I agree, and with Triple H, you know, in the saddle, really, I think we got to give him more time to try to find different ways for these people to develop better. We didn't, again, I've said this before, we didn't expect him to do as much as he's done already. So we just got to give him time to figure out what he's going to do, and time will tell. Of course, there's potential. There's nothing but potential. That's what it's all about. But you just got to see how they do it. They got to handle it right.
Yeah.
True. That is true. Yeah, you're right about the NXT right now with the roster because they are bringing a lot of like the dirty guys to help them out a little bit. Everything. And yeah, it is what it is. But with that is all the time we have. Unfortunately, I did have one more topic, but we are going to run well over time if we start talking about it because I'm going to go on a rant. So we're going to say that for later. So yes.
We don't need to talk about that guy.
Oh, we will though. We will talk about it. He might just have a special breaking news episode, but we're going to wait for it. But until then, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for checking in. Thank y'all for tapping in to episode 62 of No the Ropes Podcast. We appreciate y'all, rest community. We thank y'all for everything that y'all do, for all the love, all support, all the shares, everything that y'all do. But before y'all sign off, y'all gotta do this one simple favor for us, and that is to follow us on all social media platforms: KTR_podcast, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. No Ropes Podcast, Facebook, YouTube. No Ropes Podcast, all podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, probably on everything. And don't forget to get your merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/KTR podcast. This is episode 62. KTR, hashtag KTR Know the Ropes podcast. We are live, but now we're out.
From Tampa, Big Harv. Tell them, what should they do?
We in 3 different time zones. That's a lot of people that should be pumping them goddamn numbers right now. All right? We talking to everybody. All at the same time, but at different times. That's crazy. That's crazy right there. Pump them goddamn numbers.
That don't compute in my mind, I must be out of mind. Black fist high, rally up before we out of time.